Now let us try to implement what we learned in the theory part. So how do we write a loop? Let me first just make sure we are clear with the name of the student, name of list of students, sorry. Okay. And we want to iterate on this list of students, and we want to print welcome Ram, welcome Shyam, and welcome Radheshyam. So first let me just write a for loop. So for writing a for loop, we'll use the word for. For is a reserved word in Python. Let me zoom it a little bit. Okay. For is a reserved word in Python. The moment I type it, it turns green. And I'm going to say for X in list of students. Okay. And I give a colon here. This is the syntax for writing a for loop. And then when I come down, I need to have some indentation here because this is the block of code that will be executed within the for loop. Okay. And here I need to write something. I'm going to say print, to say print welcome. And you see 3 times welcome has been printed. Each, the first time it got printed for Ram, second time it got printed for Shyam, and third time it got printed for Radheshyam. If I just want to print the name, okay, instead of print welcome, let me just write print X. So what it is going to print? It will print the value of X. So the value of X is going to be Ram for the first time. So it will print Ram. And then the X value of X will be Sham. So it will print Sham. And then X will take the value of Radhesham. So let me print this and see. See, Ram, Sham, and Radhesham has been printed. But I want to print welcome Ram, welcome Sham. So I can use F strings now. X is going to be the name of the person. So we can take F like this. I'm going to take X. I'm going to put here. Okay. You see my work is done. Now, if I want to make any changes here, suppose I want to change the welcome message, I need to just change in one place and automatically it will impact all the different print statements here. So I can say, how are you? And you can see my job is done. So let us do a little bit more practice. Let us try to solve the problem of finding odd and even numbers. So let me take nums. Let me take some numbers 4, 5, 10, 13, 21, and 45. Okay. And I want to find out for each of the numbers whether they are odd or even, and I want to print 4 is even, 5 is odd, 10 is even, 13 is odd, something like that. So you know that if I take nums of 0, this is 4, and if I do a division with 2, I'm getting 0, because if you divide 4 by 2, the remainder is 0. This is um, the modulus operator that I've shown you, talked about earlier. So if we do 0, this is true. So if this condition is true, that means this number is even, and I want to apply the same condition here. So I'm going to write for num, or let me say for y or for x in nums. Okay. Now a good idea of naming variables is whenever you name variables, please be very explicit and be very thoughtful about the person who's going to read your code. So always try to avoid naming your variables as x, y, z, a, b, c, d. Have meaningful names. So here I've written nums. Let me be a little bit more thoughtful and call it list of numbers. Okay. And when I run my loop, instead of x, I'm just going to call it number, because when I'm picking something from a list of number, that is a number. So let me name that variable number. So I'm going to call it for number in list of numbers. What I need to do, I need to check for the modulus division. So I'm going to say number modulus 2 is equal to 0. Okay. So I can just print this, and that itself should give me some information. So you see I'm getting true because 4 is even, and then for 5 I'm getting false. Again I'm getting true, I'm getting false, false, false. But I don't want this. I want to print whether it is even or not. So I'm going to write a if statement here. I'm going to use control flow. So I'm going to use if this condition is true, then I'm going to print. And what I'm going to print, I want to print that number is even. So let me just print here even first, and then I'm going to go to the else block and I'm going to print odd. Okay, so I'm getting even, odd, but I want to print it alongside the number. So I'm going to use a f string, and I'm going to say number is even. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to say number is odd. Something is wrong. Okay, I forgot to put the f here. And now if I print it, you see 4 is even, 5 is odd, 10 is even, 13 is odd, 21 is odd, 45 is odd. Now I can continue to add numbers here as many as I want, and I don't need to make any change in my code. Okay, you can see this. You can see any number of elements I can add here, and it will be taken care of. Okay. Now, little bit more about iterating on lists. There are two ways to iterate on a list. Let me have a list of numbers here. Okay, so please pay attention. This can be a little bit confusing. I often see people get confused here. Okay, but this is very important because many people write code in different ways. So we need to understand all the different ways of writing the code. So right now, what I have shown you, this is a very Pythonic way of writing loops. This type of statements is only peculiar to Python. Other languages don't allow you to write for loops like this. Rather, you iterate on the indexes. So here, I'm iterating on the values of the list. We can also iterate on the indexes. Let me say iterating on the values. Suppose the problem that is given to us is that we want to take all the numbers and I want to print the double of that number. So for 4 I want to print 8, for 5 I want to print 10. So as per what we have learned, we can simply write a loop for number in list of numbers, and I want to say print, I want to print number into 2. Okay, this is working. There's no problem. I can also add the number and I can draw some arrows so that it looks nice. Okay, so for 8 the double is 8, for 4 the double is 8, 5 to double is 10. This is fine. So what I'm doing, I'm iterating on the number in list of numbers. Number is the value, so I'm iterating on 4. This number is taking the value of 4, this number is taking the value of 5, this number is taking the value of 10. So this number is taking the values in the list. So this is called as iterating on the values. There's an alternate way and more general way of writing it, which you might often find other people writing, is iterating on the index. So iterating on the index means that I will iterate on the address of 4, which means I will take 0 and then I will find out which is the 0th element of list of numbers and I will access the value slightly indirectly. Let us see how we'll do that. I'll call it iterating on index. Okay, so iterating on index, let me take list of numbers here again. Okay, and I'm going to say that I'm going to iterate on 4, address of 4, and then address of 5, address of 10, and I'm going to take that index and use that index to access the value. I will show you how. So if I have if I do length of list of numbers, you see I'm getting 12. So instead of iterating on 4, 5, 10, 13, 21, 45, I'm going to iterate on from 0 to 12. I hope you are getting the idea. So I'm going to make a list here. I'm going to say 0, 1, 2. Okay, this is my list. I've created a list. You will not have to do this manually. I will show you how we can do it in a rather easier way. But for now, just assume that this is the list, and I'm going to say for index in this list. For index in this list, and I'm going to say print index. We are going to take only till 11 because there are 12 values, so we will go from 0 till 11. Okay, and if we print this, you can see we are going from 0 till 11. Now using this index, I can access the value. How can I access the value? I can access using list of numbers of index, which means it will give me list of numbers of 0, which is 4, then list of numbers of 1, which is 5, list of numbers of 2, which is 10. So one by one I will be able to access it. See, I'm able to access, and here I can again do multiplied by 2. So I'm getting 8, 10, 20. I'm getting the same answer. Here I can add number, and here I can again add an arrow so that it looks nice. Sorry, what happened? Sorry, it should be this. Okay, and you see I got the same answer, but this is slightly different way of doing the same thing. Again, I will repeat. Here I am iterating on the values. The variable in the loop is taking the value. Here the variable in the loop is not taking the value, it is taking the index, and using that index we are accessing the value by using indexing. I hope both of these methods are clear. And now I will take some examples and we'll do some practice. And then after that, we will look at some other concepts in for loops like break, continue, etc. After that, we'll shift to while loops. Before we talk more about loops, I just want to quickly introduce a very handy function which is called as range function. So earlier you saw that when we had to create a list of index for a given list, I had to type it out manually, and again that is not a very good idea. So we have a function which is called as a range function. Okay, so range function, you see when I type range, it automatically turns green, which means it is a reserved word in Python. So if I write range 10, okay, and if I don't do anything, you see it is returning a range object to me, and it says range 0 to 10. Now what does it mean? Now this is the iterable This is a generator object, but right now don't worry about it. You can just cast it into a list and see what happens. When I say range 10, what it did is it generated all the numbers from 0 to 10. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10 is not included. It generates 10 numbers, but 10 itself is not included. Or I can just say range 5 to 20. So it will generate all the numbers from 5 to 20. Okay. And we can also give a step value here. We can say 1 to 20, and I can say 2, which means it will skip one value and it will generate. So 1 and then 3 and then 5, 7, like that. I can give a skip value of 5. So it will generate 5, 1, 6, 11, and 16 steps of 5, or I can give 0 here and it can generate uh, numbers from 0 to 20 on steps of 5. This range is very, very useful, especially while writing for loops, because when we are trying to iterate on a list using the index, we need to have a list of indexes, and that we can generate using range. So if I had to write this line of code again using range function, let me first just take list of numbers. And if I have length of list of numbers, then I can very easily pass this entire thing to a range function, and I will get range 0 to 12. And I can iterate on this. I can say for index in this, I can say print index, and it will give me numbers from 0 to 11. Now this range here, when I'm using it, I don't have to convert it to a list because this is a generator object, and it will automatically generate numbers from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll talk later about generator and iterator objects, but for now just understand what this range function is doing. And if you want to visualize what it is doing, in order to see it, you will either have to run it on a loop, or you will have to just convert it to a list and you will get the values. So we are going to use range function a lot, so I just took a few minutes to just explain to you what range function does.